Finding My Worth, a journey of healing and self-discovery, written for every woman who has ever felt unseen. Written by Iyabo Bello, narrated by Joanne Powered by Mercy L. Roy. Chapter 1, The Weight of Invisibility. Some live life like ghosts in their own stories, watching but never truly existing. From her earliest years, she felt like she didn't belong. Life unfolded in front of her as if she were an outsider, always in the background, watching others truly live. Every room she entered, school, home, social gatherings, felt too vast, too loud, as if designed for people more deserving, more beautiful, more intelligent, and far more confident than her. She longed to be noticed, but feared attention all the same. It was a delicate dance, hoping someone would see her, yet terrified of what they might discover if they looked too closely. She thought that if she could just be more, prettier, smarter, funnier, then maybe, just maybe, she would finally feel like she mattered. But life whispered the opposite, embedding seeds of self-doubt deep within her heart. She grew up feeling as though life was something that happened to her, not for her. She was never the center of anyone's world, not even her own. So she told herself stories to survive. She decided she was unworthy of love because she wasn't beautiful enough. She believed that friendships slipped away because she wasn't interesting enough. She convinced herself that she wasn't taken seriously because she wasn't smart enough. The most dangerous lies are the ones we tell ourselves. And these lies? They became her truth. They followed her into every season of life, like shadows that refuse to fade. Chapter 2, A Silent Suffering. Silence carries the heaviest burdens. It's the weight of everything left unsaid. The earliest memories of her childhood were stained by a darkness no child should ever know. She was just 7 when it started. The kind of abuse that leaves invisible scars, carving wounds that no one could see but that she would carry forever. It was her uncle. He did things to her that she had no words for. At 7, she didn't understand the violation. She only felt the heavy shame that crept into her bones. It felt wrong, but no one had told her why. No one had told her this wasn't normal. So she stayed silent. Not out of fear, but out of confusion. How could she speak of something she didn't even have the words for? She thought it was just part of life, a terrible unspoken truth that some people simply endured. And so, she endured. The silence became her armor, but it was a heavy one. It shaped her in ways no one could see, in the way she flinched at certain touches, in how she avoided eye contact, in how she shrank into herself in crowded rooms. She learned to hide in plain sight, to smile when she wanted to scream, to play the role of the good girl while carrying the unbearable weight of her secret. But pretending doesn't make pain disappear. It makes it grow. Chapter 3, The Moment That Changed Everything. Sometimes, a simple moment can crack open a lifetime of silence. She was 10 years old. It was an ordinary afternoon. She was playing with her older stepbrother, her father's firstborn, laughing, running, feeling, for a moment, like a normal kid. But in her innocence, she reached for him in a way she had been taught, a behavior she had unknowingly absorbed. He froze, pulled away. Confusion flickered in his eyes, followed by discomfort. "What are you doing?" he asked. 5 simple words, but they shattered something inside her. For the first time, she realized that what had been done to her wasn't normal. His reaction, though simple, exposed a cruel truth she had never been able to name. Her chest tightened, her face flushed with shame. But somewhere deep within, a seed was planted. I was not supposed to be treated that way. She loved him for that moment. Without even knowing it, he had given her the first glimmer of clarity, of worth. But life, in its brutal irony, took him away not long after. He passed unexpectedly, leaving behind a hollow space in her heart. She mourned him not just because he was gone, but because he had been the first person to make her feel like she mattered. Chapter 4. The Loneliness That Followed. Loneliness is not just the absence of people, it's the absence of belonging. Her mother, always traveling for business, left her in the care of relatives, uncles, aunts, anyone who could provide food and shelter. But none of them provided warmth. She drifted from house to house, her life a patchwork of temporary stays and hollow goodbyes. She never had a place that felt like home, never had a person who felt like home. Friendships were shallow. She kept them that way on purpose. How could she let anyone in when she carried so many secrets? Secrets that felt too heavy, too dark, too shameful. And so, she learned to be alone. She learned to exist in silence. But the abuse did not end. In another home, another man, her uncle's stepson, saw her vulnerability and took advantage. By then, she had stopped questioning it. She stopped fighting. This was her fate, she thought. This was the role life had assigned her. She became numb. Chapter 5. Carrying the burden into adulthood. The past doesn't stay in the past if you carry it into every future. By the time she entered adulthood, the lies she had told herself had crystallized into truth. She believed she was broken. She believed happiness was for other people. So when she got married, it felt like an escape, a lifeboat from her sinking ship. Her husband wasn't a predator. For a while, that felt like enough. But abuse isn't always obvious. His words became weapons. His coldness built walls. His emotional distance locked her into another kind of prison, one without visible bars but suffocating all the same. Every time he dismissed her feelings, every time he belittled her dreams, every time he made her feel invisible, it echoed the worthlessness she had carried since childhood. And she stayed. Because somewhere deep down, she still believed it was what she deserved. Chapter 6. The Year. Everything changed. You can't heal a wound by ignoring it. You have to face it, even when it hurts. Then came 2024. Something shifted. It wasn't a loud, cinematic moment. It was quieter, subtler, but powerful. A whisper inside her. You deserve more. At first, she dismissed it. But it kept coming back, stronger each time. And for once, she listened. She began to question the stories she had told herself, the lies she had accepted as truth. For the first time, she considered that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't broken beyond repair. She realized she could reclaim her life, not all at once, not in some grand act of defiance, but piece by piece. Day by day. It was messy, it was hard, but it was real. Chapter 7. The Journey to Healing. Healing is not a destination, it's a daily decision. Healing didn't erase her past. It didn't make her pain vanish overnight. But it gave her power, the power to choose how she carried her story. Some days, she felt strong, fierce, whole. Other days, the weight of her past pulled her back into the shadows. But every day, she made a choice. To believe that she was worthy. To silence the lies. To take up space in a world that once made her feel invisible. She learned that her worth was not defined by what had been done to her. She learned that survival wasn't her only purpose, thriving was. So now, she shares her story. Not because it's easy, but because somewhere, someone needs to hear it. To the woman listening. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not defined by what has been done to you. You are worthy. And if she can find her worth, so can you. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning. Thank you for listening. Now go find your worth.